Chelsea are terrible. Nothing's changed. Is that really true? Hello there guys, what is going on? Daniel Childs back here again for another show. Hope you're doing well during the first week of this international break. The international break always feels worse after a defeat. It always feels longer as well. I always think the first one of the season as well, because you want to get into the flow of the season and it's halted. It kind of feels like instantly into international football. And obviously right now, things are not feeling that great at Chelsea, coming off the back of the weekend's 1-0 loss to Nottingham Forest. Losing 2 of our opening 4 Premier League games is not good. It's not a nice feeling. And the way Chelsea lost on Saturday was really frustrating. And I've already seen some people kind of already assume and analyse and come to the conclusion that nothing has improved, nothing has changed. Now, I don't think that's a ridiculous thing to assume just from kind of a fan emotion point of view. Chelsea spent a lot over the summer, and with that spend comes expectation. With the baggage of what happened last season too, people's patience isn't very strong right now. There isn't a lot of patience to give Chelsea, and specifically Chelsea's new ownership, and I can understand that. But there is some data which go through today and talk through that shows that Chelsea aren't that terrible, and there is reason to be optimistic about Chelsea as we go forward this season and maybe think around pretty soon. If you are new around here, like the content here, make sure to hit the like button because it helps new people find the content. Also hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on so you don't miss any of my uploads throughout this season about Chelsea FC. You can also get the show as a podcast as well. Just go on your favourite podcast provider, search Son of Chelsea. If you are listening through the podcast, thank you for tuning in. Please do leave us a positive rating review. It really does help the show out. So I'm going to go firstly with expected Chelsea. A great account on Twitter. Don't agree with all of his opinions, but in terms of just stats, it's breaking down things that maybe other people haven't noticed about Chelsea throughout the course of a season. I think he does some really good work. And this is Chelsea's attacking ranks in the Premier League so far this season. Chelsea are first for crosses. They are second for big chances created. They are third for passes into the box, progressive passes, through balls, touches into the box, successful dribbles and carries into the box. They are joint fourth for shots and sixth for shot quality. So an overall look there doesn't show a team that are woeful, especially from a creative or an offensive point of view. Chelsea aren't a team who so far this season are struggling to get into good areas. They aren't a team so far this season that are struggling to even get shots away. Joint fourth isn't terrible, is it? It isn't 12th, where Chelsea are actually in the table and were last season. The shot quality could be better, but again, not absolutely abject. It's 6th in the league. Through ball showing that Chelsea are looking to get and progress the ball pretty well. I think that has obviously been helped by Enzo Fernandez. I will put another stat on screen now. And as expected, Chelsea explains here, Enzo Fernandez is first for 64 progressive passes, first for passes into the final third, that's 51 played, 17 passes into the box, that also makes him first, 8 through balls, that makes him first, and 26 shot creating actions, that also makes him first so far this season. So in Enzo Fernandez, Chelsea have got a very effective central midfielder, influential in our play. That's going to be massive throughout the course of this season, which we also hope comes from other players too. So then digging a little bit deeper, I wanted to look at XG because it was something that really frustrated me last season before, maybe even season before that, in terms of Chelsea not creating a high volume of quality opportunities throughout the course of a season. And, as much as Chelsea fans, I think rightly, because you can make a reel of Chelsea strikers and Chelsea attackers missing some very presentable opportunities, the latest being Nicholas Jackson. Chelsea have had a real problem of creating high volume, high quality chances regularly, meaning that when we get one of those chances, they mean so much throughout the course of a game compared to Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool in recent years, who, give their, I think, attackers a wider margin for error because, they are creating those chances on a regular basis. I think with what I've seen of the XG so far, some of it has, Chelsea have had a penalty against West Ham. They've also had 2 penalties against them against West Ham in that game. So let's go through, because I just want to explain. And I think I've got to give credit to, I think it's Dave Jones on Sky. He mentioned this now when they're breaking down XG, is that XG can massively weight your XG score from a game, because the chances of you scoring from a penalty obviously are very high. So you have to take that into account when in a game where you have been given a penalty, or subsequently if you're looking defensively where you've conceded a penalty too. So Chelsea versus Liverpool, Chelsea slightly better than Liverpool here, 1.93 to 1.30. That's not that surprising. Chelsea were deemed to be pretty good on that day, maybe should have won that game. West Ham against Chelsea, as you'd suspect, because West Ham had 2 penalties, are going to be better than Chelsea, but not massively better than Chelsea on the day, 1.61. Then the Luton one, again, you don't have to be a data analyst to work this out. Chelsea were very heavily weighted with XG in this game, 3.41. That's very high, showing that Chelsea did create a lot of good opportunities on the day. Just to be clear as well, I don't know why Understat does this, but you have to, for your team, you have to look to the other side to find the opposition box. So when we're looking at their 3.41 for Chelsea against Luton, we're looking at the other side where you can see how much was created, and the stars are where the goals came from. So Chelsea there, very well, very inside the box. Raheem Sterling, Nicholas Jackson creating a lot of opportunities on that day, and Chelsea doing really well creatively against probably the weakest side in the Premier League. You would expect that. It's not a sensational output, but it's good to see that Chelsea creatively dominated that game and won the game comfortably in the end. And even though Chelsea did lose to Nottingham Forest at the weekend, they did still create over 2 XG on the day, 2.28 to Nottingham Forest 1.15. That one chance, really the best chance for Nottingham Forest throughout the game other than set pieces from Anthony Elanga. That was the goal, the winning goal in the end. So Chelsea once again creating chances in and around the box. The Nicholas Jackson one being the best on the day. Many of you are going to be shouting, has been a big problem. And of course, we'll define whether these things improve over a period of time. But I still do think over a period of time, when you're seeing XG, when you're seeing whether it's, just trends, right? And 4 games still, I personally, and based on people I respect to know not more about these things than I do, say that probably 10 to 15 games is probably a better sample size. I always feel like the international breaks are good places to look back and just see and analyse what we've seen before. We're going to be doing that throughout the course of this season, obviously. I also did sort of, using Understat, look back to this time last season and compared and contrasted it with the opening 4 games of last season where Thomas Tuchel was still in charge before he got sacked. And it wasn't as good. And this was a real problem for Tuchel, creating high quality opportunities against Everton. You've got to take into account we scored a penalty through Jorginho in that game, 1.92, didn't create a lot in that game. Chelsea-Tottenham, slightly better than the other win in that opening 4 against Leicester, 1.75, where we were down to 10 men created. One really good opportunity through Raheem Sterling. I remember Reece James crossed that in. I think the first Sterling goal was a deflected shot outside the box. Against Leeds, we were absolutely abject and got battered on the day by Leeds, not only in them putting away chances, but from created chances too. They simply were better than us. So I'd say from this time last year, Chelsea do look slightly better. Using some of the analyst data, I definitely suggest if you're interested in this stuff, want to break down not only Chelsea but other teams and how they compare to other teams in the Premier League. They do a lot of rankings throughout the course of this season. I will link all of these sites that I've used down below. And they have Chelsea 8th overall for XG created, as you can see here where it's highlighted. That's the XG overall created so far this season. Brighton, ironically, coming out best so far this season. In many ways, the XG Kings, and they're actually putting away their chances now, which is slightly annoying. I also looked defensively as well, just to see how Chelsea were doing compared to other teams, and they're doing pretty well for XG against. I mean, only Man City have been better so far this season, and that's from open play, just to be clear. That doesn't take into account the 2 penalties Chelsea conceded against West Ham. So in open play, Chelsea are doing pretty good defensively, which, to be fair, we saw that a lot last season. Chelsea weren't abject, even though as miserable of a season as we felt it was. Again, there was strength defensively. It's just offensively, Chelsea really struggled to click. I feel like a lot of these things, as much as it's funny because you get some people who absolutely hate stats and hate this kind of data and dismiss it as rubbish. In some ways, people can kind of dissect it themselves. Like, I think a lot of XG and the way we talk about football, XG in a lot of ways kind of confirms what we would say about a game. I think most people who watched a game against Nottingham Forest would say Chelsea had the best quality opportunities or seemed to dominate the game. And then Nottingham Forest took their one chance and Chelsea were punished for a mistake. That's the way football works. But the hope is when we're looking at data like this and looking at stats like this, I think that overall, to me, it shows that over a longer period of time, Chelsea keep on doing the same things. And you also take into account players returning, like Benoit Badiashile, which I think will make a big difference to Chelsea's defence. Maybe Trevor Chalobah too. I also think the likes of Reece James, obviously from a creative point of view, I think makes a huge difference to Chelsea. Hopefully Carney Chukwuemeka will be back by around the October time. The way the likes of Noni Madueke, Cole Palmer, I think start to get integrated into the team. And Mykhailo Mudryk too, I think has got a big job on his hands to prove himself this season, but could prove himself on the left for Chelsea. And also, I mean, I think it's really positive that someone like Raheem Sterling seems to be really stepping up. I mean, he did start last season very strongly too. Let's see how it goes throughout the course of the season. But I think he looks like a different player. And it's not only, in terms of finishing chances, I think it's creatively too. He's having a lot of influence. So I would say, let's not panic. Let's not go overboard. Let's not be ecstatic. Let's not try and pretend like there aren't any concerns. But as I've seen from, I think the analyst also wrote about this in kind of reflecting on the game so far, the amount of players we've turned over this summer, to expect it to all click in week 4 with a group of young players, we spoke about experience in my last show, I think was always going to be unrealistic. Pochettino knows that he needs to get results and he knows that there needs to be improvement. And I'm sure the players know that as well. But I generally leaning aside that from what I've seen with my own eyes and also backed up by this, I feel optimistic it will be a better season. But I absolutely understand the frustration that Chelsea fans have at the moment because it does feel like deja vu. It can feel a little bit like Groundhog Day. And kind of with all this expenditure, has it been wasted again on players who aren't going to provide the results right now? And will Chelsea actually have patience, not only from the stands, but also in the boardroom? I think that's going to be the big question this season because it does feel a bit like the 1920 season. And the thing that the 1920 season, from a kind of a patience point of view, had in its favour, not only a legend in the dugout, but it also had a transfer ban. Chelsea didn't have a transfer ban and they weren't exactly penny pinching, were they? And this ownership hasn't done that, so the pressure comes with that spend too. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Are you optimistic? Do these numbers, do these stats kind of give you hope that things will turn in a new direction? Or are you of more of the belief that Chelsea still have very, very severe problems and they will be exposed throughout the course of this season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You can follow me on X at SonOfChelsea, on TikTok at SonOfChelsea, on Instagram at SonOfChelsea YT, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.